Hi there. Welcome back. Your Money in Real Estate. We're getting to the best part of the show, which is numbers, which is like an education. And you being a teacher, this is probably pretty familiar to you to get into that, because I think this is, truthfully, I like to do the whole show like this because, something like this always conveys more interaction between us. But you certainly, in 40 transactions, you must have a couple deals that would exemplify some of the things that you teach or some of the things that you want to talk about. So why don't we get into a couple of deals you've done?
Sure, that sounds great. And yeah, from day one, and having limited resources, basically every deal is one of those deals.
Yeah, right? And that's a good way to put it. You're right. You got to make every deal the right one. I say you want to make every deal a home run. No mistakes. Make it the perfect deal. That's
and then the less money you have, the more
pressure you have.
The more pressure you have. So
to make that work.
Yeah, so we've gotten. I could sit here all day and talk about it, but I just the one property I want to talk about is a duplex we purchased a couple of years ago in Cambridge.
Okay.
And we ended up purchasing for $184,000.
So it's in Cambridge.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the market that well, but sorry, how much? $184,000?
Yeah, and I'll back up a little bit just to give you that number. This property that we purchased, and the reason why we did the course, and the reason why it's so important to get an education, because anybody can buy themselves a turnkey property. A turnkey property being something beautiful in a great neighborhood, rented out. But the only problem with turnkey properties are you pay for what you get, and most times the sales price is so high that you can't achieve the cash flow off of it, and which gets back to what we originally talked about.
Yeah, and you're talking a lot about why some people sit on the fence for so long, because they talk to guys like you and myself as well, saying, look, if you got a little bit of handyman in you, you're going to do really well in real estate, because you're going to recognize that fixing a toilet, you don't need to pay $10,000 to get you could do the bathroom yourself for $2,000. That extra $8,000 you made in value, you're gonna see back, and I think that's what you're getting at. Is that trying to decipher, say, I don't want to buy a top property because a top property is already done. There's nothing to be done. There's going to be no headaches because there's going to be no work. But how am I going to get cash flow because I'm paying maximum dollar for it?
And people that have looked at those properties, when they come on the market, can attest the fact there's multiple offers on it.
Yeah.
Everything's driven up. Well, most of the properties that we buy have been on the market for at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
So this property here in Cambridge was on the market for over 30 days.
30 days, okay.
And and the reason, there's a couple big reasons for it. Number one is owner occupied. We love owner occupied properties because when they're owner occupied, there's no financials to go from, and as well as I do, the purchase price for investment properties is specifically derived from the amount of money they bring in.
That's right.
So owner occupied, lots of times they don't know what value they have, which allows the purchase price to be a little more flexible.
So you mentioned something that is that a strategy or a technique that you say you would rather buy owner-occupied property than already existing renting property?
Yeah, and it's one of the many strategies we use, and I'll talk about a couple different ones. In this property specifically, another one is you want to buy the ugliest property on the nicest street.
Yeah.
So this was a beautiful street in Cambridge, right on the bus route. Great location, but when we bought it, it was real run down. The owners had owned it for over 30 years. They lived on the main floor in a 2-bedroom unit.
Okay.
And their daughter lived upstairs in a 1-bedroom unit.
Oh, so it already had an existing duplex kind of strategy.
Oh yeah, it had. And again, the things we looked for, it had separate hydrometers, separate furnaces.
Oh,
so which is awesome, especially with raising utility costs. It's great to have separately metered things. So it was great structurally, but it was really, there was a car on blocks in the driveway when we pulled up, and they were just.
Wait, is that car on blocks?
Yeah,
that's typical renter.
Yeah, exactly. But it was owner occupied. It was pretty. So anyways, when we went through it, a couple different things. So we went through. And we knew, okay, well, a 2-bedroom in Cambridge, fixed up nicely. This wasn't fixed up, but fixed up nicely. We knew we could get, about $800 for a nice 2-bedroom plus utilities.
Okay.
But then we looked upstairs and, okay, a 1-bedroom, you might be able to get $650.
So it's a 2 and a 1 then?
It was a 2 and a 1.
Okay, it was. Okay.
So I'm getting to the reason why we ended up buying it. So we looked and said, okay, well, sure it's run down, but still even because they were asking $209 at the time for it. So we thought even at $209, $200, a 2 and a 1 with $800 and $650 maximum, that's still not going to hit our targets.
Yeah.
So we went through and so we had the owner occupied. It had an ugly house in a nice neighborhood. Cambridge, a great investment city, but it wasn't until we went to the upper unit. Went into the den area, saw a staircase going upstairs. Well, when we walked up those stairs, there's a beautiful loft, 40 by 30.
Wow.
Beautiful ceilings, but completely unfinished. I thought, man, oh man, we could put 3 more bedrooms up here.
Whoa.
and nice, beautiful, and keep the bedroom downstairs, do all the work, and then turn it from a 2 and a 1 into a 2 and a 4.
2 and a 4.
So then, and again, what we talk about in the course and what we really focus on, and what me and you talked about, all investors, the value of a property specifically figured out from the rental income it brings in.
Yeah, for sure.
So as a 2 and a 1, you're working with 800 and 650.
Oh, sorry, 800 for the 4-bed?
No, 800 for the 2.
Yep.
And then for the old 1-bedroom, it would have been 650.
650, okay.
Well, 4 bedrooms, and that's in Cambridge, go for about $1,100, and that's what it's currently rented out for.
So we're looking at almost 500 and 450, well, 550 bucks.
Yes.
Of increased rent.
Yeah, $450.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But so $450 of increased rents.
Yep.
Right? So then all of a sudden we went home and ran the numbers. And the way, once again, we knew that we needed a new kitchen in the main floor and upstairs. We needed a new bathroom stall on the main floor. We needed some flooring, paint work. And I took my contractor through, which I always do, and said, okay, in a mortgage plus repair situation, ideally I want to spend $18,400 because that fits the 10%. So that means we only have to put our down payment at 20%, along with closing costs and holding costs for the renovations.
Got it.
And that's our entire investment. So in this situation, took my contractor through, worked it out. We could put the 3 bedrooms upstairs, plus fix up the kitchens, do some paint work, a little bit of flooring.
And this strategy you're talking, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, it's a common sense, but this is also where a lot of guys fail because they either over renovate or they under renovate, or they don't get a right contractor. I mean, you start dealing with a lot of variables that are out of your control. Like, do you recommend doing your own? Do you recommend hiring guys, or?
Part of our course, and one thing that we, being full-time real estate investors, do is, and a lot of people are scared by buying an income property, they're going to be getting themselves a part-time job or a second job.
Right.
So we strongly advocate to everybody to not do any of the work themselves.
Oh.
To not do any property management, nothing. And if you want to, that's fine. But you better, when you run your numbers, the numbers better work with you doing nothing, because if all of a sudden, because that's the problem with some people, say, oh, I love this property, they fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do
Number
the property.
one rule, don't fall in love with it.
Exactly. I'm going to do the property management myself. I'm going to do the work myself, and they try to make the numbers work for the property. We have to take a very cold approach where when we run the numbers, it's with everybody else doing all the work. So it really is you are an investor only.
Yeah.
So to get back to the numbers here specifically. So in this property with the mortgage plus repairs, we ended up buying it for $184,000.
Yep.
Our total investment was $47,000.
$47,000. Yep.
$415.
So sorry, with that $415, that's the repairs?
That's in total investment in the property. That's your
down payment?
Closing costs.
Oh, okay.
And because we were doing renovations, and it was owner occupied, we knew it was going to be vacant, so that's all the holding costs involved, because you still have to pay your utilities, you still have to pay your mortgage payments even when no rent's coming in.
That's right.
So that's all included in that number.
Okay.
And then the rents after all expenses, and when I say all expenses, that's property taxes, and then property taxes, insurance, utilities, and then what we do is we set aside 6% for vacancy allowance.
Okay.
We set aside 7% for property management, which our company in Cambridge charges.
Okay.
And another 8% for maintenance.
So that's like a reserve fund just in case things come up?
And we actually, inside there's a $3,000 reserve fund in the 47, which is another thing. But no, this maintenance fund is to pay for a grass cutter, pay for somebody to shovel the driveway. Toilets are going to break down. All these horror stories, as long as you plan for it, as long as you set money aside. Sure. Again, it's all about investing the safest, most secure way possible.
Yep.
So with all those expenses taken off, so 6, 7, and 8, you're a total 21% of our rental income taken off. That property cash flow is $3,348 a year.
$3,348 a year.
Which comes out to just over 7% return from rents every single year.
7% return, ROI.
And that's cash on cash. That's no margin.
So 7%, that's based on the money you put in here.
Yeah, so if anybody at home wants to take a calculator right now, divide 3348 into 47, 415, you get 7.06% cash on cash return.
Right.
And this is the meal we talk about. Is that 7%? So no matter what happens in the market, this property is going to make us $3,348, and that's with taking 21% aside for the just in cases and paying absolutely all the other expenses.
And that's exactly what I always like to talk about as well, is that there's nowhere in here do I see the word appreciation. We all know that guys who are watching understand that Cambridge is probably a good place to invest. There's a lot of economic activity. I certainly personally love to talk about, one of my strategies is to study the market from an economic standpoint. In other words, what are going to be those economic drivers? So that cherry is not just a little, bit. It can be something really big. These deals are always going to exist in a decent economy because you just got to go out and find them. But that extra economic fundamental, I think, is really what's going to drive this profit.
Exactly. And one thing I want to point out too quickly is if you look, the reason why that property sat on the market for so long is we raised rents $450 a month.
Right.
Times 12 months, we raised the rental amount over $5,000 on that property.
Right.
Well, you look at your cash flow, it's only $3,348. So if we don't add those 3 extra bedrooms upstairs,
yep.
if we don't, what we call it is utilizing unused space.
Sure.
If we don't do that, then it's a negative cash flow property, and it's run down. That's why it's on the market for so long, and that's why we were able to negotiate from $209,900 asking price down to $184,000.
Now, do you guys deal with bigger properties? Or do you always like to, like when you say you have strategies and formulas, which we're going to get to in the next half, but you got a formula, it's only duplex, it's only this, like do you really limit yourself or do you expand that into other areas?
When we're expanding more now in a higher units, but for the most part of the last 5 years, we've really focused on duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes,
okay,
up to 6 units.
Which getting to the bank thing allows you to mortgage out as a residential mortgage as opposed to a commercial mortgage. That's another topic for another show.
Yes, exactly.
But we're going to take a quick break and get into some more numbers with Kevin Mitchell on Your Money in Real Estate. Be right back.